Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Thanks for joining the conversation. Hello, Brett. Nice to see you.
Well, thank you, Mimi. It's great to be back on and have the chance to chat and with you and your audience again. So, thanks
Yes,
for having me back.
I need to have you back on more frequently. I'm going to do the same thing I do with our actual mutual friend, Coach Dan John, which is I just have like a quarterly recording because he goes check in with me quarterly, and we'll do our chats. And so I'm like, I need to do the same and kind of bug you. But I have to admit to the audience, I've been so lucky to see you more frequently recently because you have been helping me be able to keep moving correctly and without pain. And so I've been very fortunate to get coaching by the great Brett Jones. And so it's nice to be able to see you so often.
Absolutely, it's been great to have the chance to work with you, in that capacity and to really start to, you know, hopefully dial things in. And been working with Oscar for a while, and he's certainly worked through his path and journey with some of the strong first certs and getting his training dialed in. And so yeah, it's just been great to have the chance to work with you and taking that again, just kind of movement based approach. Let's put the first things first and, get things squared away. So, how are you feeling?
Since 2 days ago, actually
Yeah.
much better. I did do my workout this morning, and so it's what's really been nice about kind of making this decision to go. Okay, I'm going to put my health first. I'm going to take time for myself, which also means I need like a true guide to take me through this process so that I'm not just in my head and I can just kind of turn off me trying to assess myself or and just having kind of an expert at it. And I always emphasize this to people that if you want to really improve, you have to have like a coach or a guide or somebody with you, whether it's mental health, whether it's physical health, whether it's dance or anything that you want to do, especially movement based. I think it's so important. And people think, oh, you're a Sifu. Like, why would you need a trainer? I'm like, well, I still have a Sifu. My dad still is my teacher. And so it's so unintuitive sometimes for people to think, people at your level, and people at my level and what I do, like, oh, wait, you have someone coaching you or helping you. And when they find out Oscar has a coach, I'm like, well, we all need help. So it's interesting. But yeah, you've been absolutely incredible. And so I just feel super fortunate that you were willing to take me on in my decrepit state. No.
Oh, please. Yeah, I think it's interesting because on the one hand, as a Sifu and somebody that teaches others, this is a different style of training, right? Like even for myself, if I was to take on a martial art, I'd be coming to you so that I could learn, how to do that. I'm not, I don't know everything. In fact, there's probably books that have been written on the things that the many things that I don't know, and or about the many things I don't know. And so I think that acknowledging, yeah, I wouldn't try to do my own taxes. I'm not a tax accountant. There's no way that I would take that on. And for most people, that's true, right? Every now and then you have somebody that's just your classic W-2 employee, and they're going to all they got to do is put the numbers into TurboTax and boom, or whatever service you use, and boom, you get your tax returns and everything works out great. For most people, you got an accountant. You got somebody that you're working with. If you're doing finances, you have somebody that's helping you with investing. If you're in a medical situation, you get a doctor. But for some reason, when it comes to fitness, people think, well, I can do that. It's not that hard. I'll go ahead and just take care of that myself. Well, one of my favorite sayings, rationalization and opposable thumbs about it are the only things that separate us from the lower animals. So, we're able to talk ourselves into a great many things. But as people who have, tried to get fit and stopped, tried to get fit and stopped, and, they're kind of this back and forth, and then they just decide fitness isn't for them. Well, there's probably some boxes you're not checking. You're stopping either because it doesn't feel good, maybe you don't enjoy it, maybe something's achy, an achy owie pain problem. But in most of those cases, if you had somebody to set a baseline and say, Do these three things first, then do these three things, and let's build this program appropriately. You probably have a different experience in getting fit. And I think the goal is to get to a point where you can manage your own fitness. But that's the goal, not where most people start.
Yeah. One of, well, what people don't know is that you've been, like you said, training Oscar for a while. And I usually am there eavesdropping and taking notes and all of that, but it doesn't mean I've been able to apply any of them until like you've had eyes on me. But one of the things that when on one of the many occasions of my eavesdropping during your sessions, I wrote down, I like to like just write down little quotes that I hear that resonate with me that I can either carry forward and be like, Brett Jones said this and da 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 da, whether it's on a podcast or when I'm teaching, like it, because like coaching and teaching is kind of a blanket as well. Like the principles and foundations are often similar. But sometimes I also selfishly go, one day I'll corner him on my podcast again and ask him about this. And it's really interesting because I always say, you know, I understand your lifestyle because you are taking on so much. You basically run the educational program for Strong First, which for our listeners that don't know what that is, it's basically like kind of like the wall of a part of the fitness world. Like there's a specific system and you carry that forward. You make sure education is being taught correctly, safely, at standards and all of that. And so you said something like, you know, it's difficult or it is one of the things that you do is like balancing ruling the world and personal training. And one of the things I always say to you is, yeah, I don't really do that Instagram or any of that much. But when I do see is like all you ever do is have these amazing videos where you show like here's my workout of the day, but even before all of that you used to journal. I don't know if it's called journaling, but you would actually put your program of here's what I did today, here's my workout, and you've kind of been really open about that. And I want to know how you balance ruling the world and personal training because you seem to be able to have the ability of kind of putting yourself in a position where you're able to do both so well and so selfishly. I kind of want to learn from that, but also I think listeners could benefit. And my last thing before I throw it over to you is it's funny because like I mentioned earlier, our friend Dan John, yeah, I talk to him and I always pick his brain and he's like, well, I don't believe in discipline, I only believe in rituals and routine. And I'm like, oh, this is fascinating. And we kind of went down a little bit of a rabbit hole, but I didn't ask, but what about when that inevitable wrench gets thrown into life? Because I have rituals and routine, but my routine, as like you and I talked to today, I'm like, I don't know if I'll be on. I may have to take my sister to the hospital today. So that routine could get thrown off. So, having said all that, I would like to kick it over to you to kind of share your wisdom as you always do.
Well, it's interesting because from a training standpoint, and when I've talked about this, people, I don't know, take it a bunch of different ways, but like I don't have a goal. Like I train because I enjoy training. I want to see what the next session brings. I want to see if I can do this better. I want to see if I can, what is this thing that I made up to do today gonna, how is that gonna go? So I don't have a goal. I train because I want to train. I enjoy training. And that's my goal. That would be my wish for everybody from a training standpoint is to get to the point where you train because you enjoy doing it. And there's memes and exercises, not a punishment. It should be a more joyful exploration of what your body can do. And so that sort of mindset I think is first and primary. Number two is, yeah, life is going to happen, but the great thing about training consistently is it allows for life to happen. You're going to miss training days. Like, going to happen, right? That could be something comes up at work, something comes up with the family, something comes up, um, whatever happens, and you're going to miss training. And this is something I try to get my folks to understand. Consistency doesn't need to look consistent in the short term. It needs to look consistent in the long term. So you may initially set up a goal if I'm going to train 5 days a week. Okay. Well, in reality, that's going to look like 4, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, 4. But when you average that out over the course of a year, you're probably going to end up hitting 3 or 4 sessions a week on average. Some of those are two, some of those are five, some of those are, it's going to scatter. But when you pull back and get the very popular 30,000 foot view nowadays, you're going to see that, yeah, yeah, there were weeks where things just didn't go according to plan. But boy, when we look at it over the course of this year, pretty great things happened. I got 150, 160 training sessions in. And if you go from 0 training sessions to 150 to 160 training sessions in a year, I'm going to argue some pretty good things are potential there. There's a great potential. So I think that, but then the practicality, like how do you make it happen? You make it happen.
The secret, everyone. Brett Jones just shared it.
The secret, like yesterday, is a good example. I had got some work done in the morning, I had a call. I knew I had a gap. And instead of doom scrolling on the social media or diving into the next thing that I need to get done, I said, nope, time to get some snatches in. And so I got my training in, I got a shower, got on to the next thing, knowing that today session's probably not going to fit in. Like I look ahead and I go, chances of me fitting something in on that day probably not going to happen. But tomorrow I'm going to be able to make a session happen. This weekend I'm going to visit some family. Not going to get any training sessions in. So you start looking at your schedule and saying, yep, there's a gap, make it happen because I know it's not going to happen this day. And then you become far less of a victim to your schedule and somebody that's taking control of their schedule. And does mean prioritizing yourself. It does mean setting aside that moment to say, nope, this is about me. And when I work with business people in particular, when they miss sessions, they're not getting their training in. The question I love to ask them is, what's something you're never late for? It never gets rescheduled. You're never late for it.
Mhm.
If it's in the book, this is going to happen. It could be, a client call, whatever it is. So, okay, well then you need to show up on your schedule, even if you put yourself in as a different person. you you have a call with client X during that
Mhm.
time,
Yeah.
so that the schedule's blocked. Like it's the opportunity's there. You
Yeah.
can make this happen, but not if you just leave the schedule open to um, life happening. And I work with people that are parents, and kids have got to get to school, kids have got to come home. There's things that go on. Kids get sick. Like it's craziness,
Mhm.
right? But at 7 a.m., before everybody else is up, there's an opportunity for that session to happen.
Mhm.
Are you going to, and not all the time, again, consistency in the long term, not the short term. Are you going to plug that in and make it happen? In the end, you got to want to do it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. I mean, and that's, pardon me, I realized a long time ago that kind of force of will is, yeah, I mean, if you're waiting for somebody to hand you an opportunity, cool, keep waiting. Um, Otherwise, probably got to put the work in. And there's an old, I can't remember who said it, but it's a funny thing. The harder I work, the luckier I get. And so do you want this to happen or not? And then I think if you're having trouble making it happen, well, the next question is, well, why?
Mhm.
Why hasn't this become important enough? My master's is in drug and alcohol rehab, rehabilitative sciences. It's not physical training. So when
Mm.
you talk about addiction, you're talking about something that's pretty serious, and a shockingly small percentage of people find recovery in addictive situations. It's
Yeah.
it's tough. Lives get ruined, bad things happen, all of this stuff. So you'd think that obviously something's going wrong in my life, so obviously I'm going to make a change. No, but it's this incredible sliding scale. For
Yeah.
some people, and specific to let's talk about the addiction thing for just a minute. For some people, they lose that first job and they're like, oh my God, I got to make a change. Boom, bah, 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 bah. Some people, they're the doctor walks in the room and says, you can quit drinking and live, or you can keep drinking and die in 3 months. Choice is yours. And then that's the moment where they decide, I'm going to do it.
Hmm.
And then you got people that are still smoking while they're on oxygen,
Yep.
dying of COPD and emphysema or lung cancer, and they're still smoking
Hmm.
because they've hit the screw it point and they're just going to, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have a million things in my head right now, and I don't know which one I want to attack first. But oh gosh, this is fascinating to me. So one is like, your expertise in addiction is so fascinating to me because of course, people hear that word and they think drug and alcohol. And I realize now the more people I know that are super functioning in society, let's say, in like their or quote unquote professionals and successful, like we all have addictions. It's just a matter of what we're addicted to. And I think so many people are addicted to that chaos and that stress. And it could be equally as dangerous as some of these other, of course, drug, alcohol, these other external, more obvious addictions, and we don't even realize it. I mean, I've seen equal amounts of damage that can happen because you can go through both mental, physical, financial, all of these spirals from both. And I think we are addicted a little bit to the chaos now, especially because it's being thrown into our faces all the time. And like you said, instead of doom scrolling, I did this instead. But kind of like wrapping that into what you said initially, which was, if we want to be healthy, I mean, you didn't, I'm paraphrasing and kind of pulling in here, but like if we want to be healthy, if we want to put our fitness or health or how we want to frame it first, the key there is one, finding something you actually enjoy doing because then it doesn't become a chore. And then two, setting expectations for yourself. And this is probably where I have problems because my therapist, well, everyone knows I got a lot of problems, but my therapist would be like, well, this is where you need to be kind to yourself. And just because you haven't hit 82 days in a row and now on day 83, this wrench happened or whatever, and you just feel like a failure because day 84 doesn't come, like this is not reality. Like to really set those expectations and understand, what I love is that consistency in the long term, because then it doesn't make you feel like, oh man, I've got this perfect record and if I stop, it's ruined, forget it. A lot of people like me are like an all or nothing. I'm all in or forget it, right? It's like it didn't work, or you're just so discouraged. And so yeah, I mean, I'm loving that consistency in the long term reframe. That really speaks to me. But I would love to kind of pick your brain a little bit as well, since you have that master's in addiction and everything, because I know that I'm sure you have worked with people with actual addictions to said
Mm-hmm.
things that we discussed. But what's your kind of bird's eye view or overview of just like over the last several decades of working with people with that, wow, equally as problematic or even more prevalent than those not quote unquote common addictions, but the ones that we think of. What have you kind of seen that's like, wow, this is lately the trend of this is what humans have been addicted to, or that you've had to kind of utilize your skill set to go use that training of like, oh, let me apply my ability to help people through this and use it for something that maybe people aren't thinking of as an addiction.
To the concept of something being a chore, yeah, sometimes it's a chore, but toilet still needs scrubbed,
Yeah.
shower still needs washed. You're still going to do wash your towels. The less kind version of this is when was the last time you forgot to wipe your butt?
Yes.
So some things just need to go on your wipe your butt list. This is something that needs to happen. You're going to brush your teeth. Hopefully, you're flossing. You're going to scrub the toilet, wash the towels, cook the meals. Like there's things that are chores.
Hmm.
Okay. Some things just need done. And if
Hmm.
something needs to go on your chore list and your wipe your butt list, okay, then it needs to happen. That's something that just needs to get on there. And sometimes, yeah, you I do things I don't enjoy. They need done. I don't like scrubbing a shower. But once I do it, and you know, maybe it's a little bit of Bushido sort of mindset. How you do one thing is how you do everything. But
Mm,
that sort of, you know, if I'm going to decide to scrub the shower, I'm going to do a good job scrubbing the shower. You can call that dedication. You can call it discipline. Go Jocko Willenick on it. You know, discipline equals freedom. So to the chore thing, yeah, there's some things that are chores. Suck it up and do it. Not everything's fun. Not everything has to be. Some things just need done. So initially, it might be a chore. Then to the addiction side of things, or just the achieving consistency sort of thing. One of the newer, I would say, concepts in business is fail faster. Don't be afraid of failure.
mhm.
Fail faster.
Yeah.
Find out what's not working faster. It's not final. It's it's that thing you need to change. Fail faster. Get to the mistake. Get to the thing that's not working. Fail faster. Fail faster. Fail faster. Because if you can do that, you get past the roadblocks. You get past the things that are going to prevent you from moving forward and succeeding. Failure is not final. And you can throw the first attempt in learning sort of acronym for fail into this if that helps. But I don't mind failing. Failing is fine, part of life. And that's the biggest thing that I want when I work with people who are either trying to establish a nutritional habit, an exercise habit, a sleep habit, a hydration habit. You know, some people have to really force themselves to properly hydrate. So when you fail to do that, okay, do it again. Because the greatest determinant in succeeding, and this is a little bit more specific to smoking, but it translates across a lot of different addictions. The greatest predictor of success in stopping or changing a behavior is having tried to change it previously.
Mm,
It's not being successful the first time or the second time or the third time, but it's the accumulation of those attempts that allow you to eventually achieve success. So, the biggest thing, and if people walked away with nothing from anything I've ever said in all of the podcasts and videos and things that I put out there, it's that failure isn't final. Fail faster. Get to that pinch point quicker. Find out what needs to be done differently. Fail faster, fail faster, fail faster. Get there. Find out what you need to change. And then do it again. Oh, you know, I was going to work out today and I didn't. Okay, do it tomorrow. Why does not doing it yesterday prevent you from doing it today? Fail faster.
mhm.
Get there. And I think that that's, and then when you come into the idea of what we're addicted to, boy, you know, an easy target is, you know, social media. And a lot of addictions become that insidious thing that we don't even, it's the Febreze effect, right? Things
Mm,
you've gone nose blind to. Well, there's things you've gone habit and behavior blind to because it's just, I'm just doing this.
mhm.
I'm just checking social media. I'm
Yes.
just, okay, well, yeah, you're just doing it at the exclusion of these five other things that actually needed to happen,
Yes, yes.
right? And so that's where a friend, a counselor, a mentor, whatever, that outside opinion of, boy, you, we had this thing that you haven't gotten done in 5 weeks. Like, why isn't this getting done?
Right.
That should be a wake up call. Like, that's
Yeah.
not, you know. So I think that sometimes there's a lot of times where we do need that outside opinion, that outside view to say, hey, have you noticed this?
As those like smaller mini interventions, right? But not the formal one where you walk in and you get the people, everyone in your room. But I mean, it really is a form of intervention, which I think is super important. But that all, of course, as usual, resonates with me the way you put things so succinctly. Because one of the things that we teach our students is like, oh, actually, when you're failing, that is your opportunity for learning. When we fail, that is our moment of learning. And as an educator, I know that is definitely a principle that you kind of emphasize and everything. But I do really love where you mentioned as well, like your chore list, or the wipe your butt list, because people presume that Oscar and I love to work out. Like, oh, well, obviously you guys love working out. I was like, okay, I do love kung fu, but people think that means I get to like grab my sword and do cool things all the time. I'm like, my kung fu basics, I wouldn't say they're fun. They're fundamental, right? And they're essential, but they're not fun. But that is what I've committed to doing daily, because the motivation is, if I don't do those things, the way I feel, the injuries I get, the pain I have when I wake up is greater than my dislike or the chore of doing the exercise. So sometimes it has to be a risk to benefit thing. And as you get older, you get away with a lot less, right? So in my 20s, I could just do the fun things of kung fu or even strength training. Like, I just want to do the fun parts and make me, feel like, oh, I did this one movement and it feels good and I'm able to do it. But as you get older, the chore becomes different, right? Like the list that you have to do to maintain and keep your body from just not feeling horrible or breaking is totally different. And I feel like a lot of us, as well, as we transition from our 20s, 30s into our 40s, 50s and above, realize that there's a mental game there where we have to be real with ourselves and say, I accept this. I accept that I'm not going to be able to relive these glory days. I always talk about that I used to literally jump off buildings doing stunts and do wire work. I was like, now I'm a little bit afraid of heights. I go, oh, I don't need to climb the this and that. And it's like I used to flip off of things, right? And now I'm like, oh, I got to do my calf raises in order to get my ankles ready to land on a 2-inch jump, right? It's just like you have to kind of re-examine yourself and be real with yourself, which kind of leads me to my next subject that I'm really excited to hear about, because you are taking on a new venture in your life. You're switching directions, which is super brave but super exciting. And it's always an amazing thing when we're sort of reinventing ourselves, as you want to, however you want to phrase it, or just kind of like, taking your life plan and going, oh, I'm going to shift and I'm going to try new things or different things, and make changes that are better for us and that fit in. And I'll let you share with our audience what that means for you. And
Yeah.
because you have been in, the type of education and the position you're in for so long right now. And you're about to make some big changes, Brett Jones.
Yeah. So,
Or
one
by
thing
the time this
first,
releases, you have made those changes.
correct. One thing first, at a certain point, you embrace your used to couldsness. I used to could do quite a few things, and I'm glad they're on video. Every now and then, this video from 2007 will resurface, a strongman show reel from being at a certification in Denmark. And, I'm juggling the 48 kilo, and I'm, bending the red nail, closing the number three, and, doing some different things. And, anytime it comes up, it gets a lot of shares, gets a lot of views. And I'm like, I'm glad it's on video
Yes,
because
I feel that.
because that ain't happening anymore. I'm, as the old saying goes, I'm as good once as I ever was, but I'm not in a, I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good once as I ever was. So yeah, at a certain point, you just embrace the used to goodness. I'm happy with what I can do now,
Yes.
and feel good about my training and what I can teach, and segueing into changes and things like that. I think that especially, even though at 54, I certainly feel great, young. The number just is weird to me. But usually career changes and progressions and things like that happen. You get settled in, and you just figure at a certain point, this is what I'm going to be doing for a while. And not that I'm changing careers, but I am going to be focusing on moving into working with an online coaching group called Kettlebell Transformation, that where I'll be one of their coaches and working within their system. Now, part of that is going to be stepping away from my director of education role within Strong First. And that has been And I was talking to my counselor about this today. Like there's personal identity wrapped up in that for me, right? I've been people associate me with Strong First and working with Pavel and working with FMS and I'll still do some work with FMS, but I'm stepping away from this education role where I've been trying to drive forward the curriculum and the progressions for the School of Strength and working with Pavel for over 22 years. And within that, the burden that I have felt over the years is that people are taking the information they get from us and they're using it to benefit their business, which puts food on the table and money in the bank. And like I think if you don't feel that burden, you should probably reevaluate whether you should be in education in this way or not. And so stepping away from that is a challenging yet exciting moment to refocus. I haven't been able to do one thing in over 20 years. I've been doing a combination of things: traveling, teaching, presenting, director of education, putting out projects and videos and books and different things. It's been a mix of a lot of different things. The travel has had me miss far more than I ever wanted to miss and didn't realize it until it was in the rearview mirror and there's nothing you can do about it. And so this opportunity to focus, to work within this group and to really change things, what I feel like will be for the better for myself. That's the other thing is that being a loyal guy, I've hung in when you trace the history of things. Nobody's been in this with Pavel longer than I have, and I've hung in there, been through a lot of different changes. People have come and gone over the years, and I've been one of the consistencies, and I'm grateful for that. My work with Pavel and Gray and everybody has provided opportunities that I can never repay. I hope that the work I've done and the success we've had has been repayment enough. But it's also time to say this is going to be a good decision for me, my family, and it's time to move forward. So
Yeah. Is it scary?
yes, 100%.
Hmm.
Um, I'm you know, courage is, moving forward in spite of fear and hesitancy and everything else. People think that courage is, the absence of. It's not. It's it's moving forward in spite of. And is it scary at 54 to take on this thing which may or may not work out? Honestly, that's the reality. Anytime you get into some of this stuff, is the potential there? Yes. Could it not work out? Yes. Is that scary? Yes. Am I doing it anyway? Yes. Um,
I love all the
so,
yeses.
so yeah, and that's I think harder to do as you progress up in years, and you want to hit a point where you can kind of settle back, not push so hard. And certainly if I was 70, we'd probably be having a different conversation. But
We will have a conversation when you're 70 as well. So
it's
I'll have to
not
write
that
down some questions for the
it's
future.
not that far away.
Oh, come on now.
It isn't. Like I look at it now and I'm like, that's 16 years.
I know.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like
Less
I've been
than
in
Cam's age. Like,
right. I've as of next year, I will have been back in Pittsburgh for 20 years.
yeah,
And I'm like, how did that happen?
I know.
Because it's not that long ago that I was in San Diego. It's not that long ago that X happened. 5 years out from cancer. Like it's just the way things just keep going. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's exciting, scary time, but and I've never been one of those horror movie people for whom being scared is like the thing that really works for me.
Right.
Um,
We all know you're an 80s movie person.
yes,
Everybody knows this.
If anybody wants
we
to
have
go
we
with
have podcasts on that already. Next one, we'll strictly just do movie coverage so we can keep it light. But yes,
Roadhouse
so you
Rules,
know, you're definitely you're definitely getting a supercharge out of this feeling.
right? But it's, again, just doing it despite it, of it, acknowledging that it's there. But I think moving forward is the big key, and that's yeah. So it's an exciting time,
Hmm.
scary time, but yeah, it's and fortunately the thing I'm going into, I mean, it's kettlebell transformation, right? I mean, I know a thing or two about
You
it.
kind of know a little bit about it.
It's
So the
smidge,
content isn't scary. The life change is what's scary.
correct,
Right. You know, because
correct,
like you can
and
do the position. It's just like, will this all work out the way you are thinking, you know?
and I've got a lot to learn. I'm not, I'm being brought into a team, and
Hmm.
I need to join the team.
Right, right.
There's
A
things that
different,
I need. Yeah, I'm
yeah,
not I'm not on top of that situation. I am
yeah.
part of the team, so I
Yeah,
need
you're not the
to
main decision maker. You're kind of like, okay, what is someone else's vision? And, but there's a
execute.
little bit of relief that goes with this, yes, because
Sure.
there's so much weight in the position you're in now. And like you said, there's a burden, but it can be very positive because, of course, you are changing lives, doing so much for so many people. But there's a bit of a weightlessness to, I'm here, let me know the what do I need to do and execute. Yeah, there's a bit
Yeah.
of like, oh, it may allow for some different things in your headspace as well as physical space and time.
Exactly. So that's another thing that I'm excited about. This group is successful in ways that I've never been. They approach things in ways that I don't. I'm excited to learn that. I'm excited to help people within this new platform and to move forward. So it's I think where failure isn't final. Changes are going to happen. You're going to have to move forward and not miss the not miss the opportunity, I would say.
Yeah. I love, I specifically asked you this question because I knew you would answer it so candidly and openly as you often do with me and when we have these conversations, because I feel like, particularly, not that women don't need to hear the messaging, but I feel like a lot of our young men out there need to see a very, what they perceive as strong, leader, dedicated, physically strong, but also mentally and emotionally strong man admit to being scared, and that is a strength in itself. Because I see, as an educator, a lot of our youth, and I mean that from like elementary age all the way through our teen boys into our young adult men, and I feel like there's just a little bit out there that's saying like this, I'm going to be macho, nothing scares me, I'm so strong, nothing can touch me kind of mentality. And it's super damaging to the future generations. And I really appreciate that you can share that, oh yeah, I'm afraid of something and that's okay. And that we can kind of take our feelings and have feelings and emotions, and that's a strength in itself. So thank you for sharing that. I think it's important. A lot of people really look up to you. And yes, probably part of it might be watching that video of you tossing around the 48 kilos, and even the ones you are doing now. And it's not at your age or anything. This is for like any normal human. The things you're doing now is still quite a feat of strength. You know that. But you have put in the work.
Right. I mean, that's I don't put anything out there as in a braggadocious, sort
Performative.
of
Yeah.
sort of way, performative way. It's just this is just how I'm training. And for, I but yet I saw somebody the other day is doing my iron cardio workout with the 48 kilo, and I'm like, damn, that's really good. Holy mackerel. I look at Sven Rieger, not only lifting the Denny stones, but doing snatches with double 40 kilos, pressing the 52, and, all of these things, and doing it well. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like I see some people moving some heavy weight around and it lacks some precision and some
Yeah.
skill. it's with high skill. Like it's really impressive, and I've never sniffed that. I've never snatched double 40s, even once. So there's a lot of people out there that are stronger than I am, and I think that just I'm just putting my training out there as a way to say, this is what I'm doing. What it looks like for you is going to be what it looks like for you. And I think that the acknowledgement of I have a counselor. I work on my mental health. I'm afraid. I have times. I'm not a imposter syndrome person. That's not my particular thing. But I certainly have times where I'm like, I could do this better. But I think that that's a good and healthy thing. There is a lot of, I think, confusion right now around masculinity, toxic masculinity, different things like that. And kids are coming up our young people are coming up in a confusing time. And I think that recentering, connecting with people, we're disconnected. And I think that having those opportunities to connect with people is super important.
I agree. And that is also why I'm grateful to you for taking time out of your very busy, 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 busy day and all the chores that you have to do to have these conversations with me, because I know you are, of course, in the circles of strength and conditioning and kettlebells and fitness on all the podcasts. I feel like at least in this conversation, you do reach a different audience that maybe don't know even really know who Brett Jones is, which is kind of crazy because it's like your ninth time on on this podcast. I'm sure they know because of our relationship, but we have other people I think that can really always benefit from these conversations and kind of hearing your perspective. So I really appreciate that. On a lighter note, as we wrap up, what fun things are you watching or reading? I know you take in a lot of nonfiction things and whatever, and do things for work and enrichment. But what fun things have you been enjoying to just like step away from the reality of sometimes this very chaotic and depressing world? Let's be real.
Yeah, I mean it's hard. And I gave this advice on a recent podcast actually. Take a news fast.
Oh yeah.
Just turn away from it. And that's Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective
Oh
People
yeah, I
advice
remember that
from
from business school.
years ago.
Like,
Years ago, right?
whoa. Yeah.
He even back then he was advocating for like at least a week long news fast
Ah,
on a
okay.
regular basis to get away. And now it's so oppressive. So what am I? Only murders in the building.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't keep up with it. I was still on the LA.
Obsessed.
Really? Okay,
Yeah,
okay. Maybe I gotta get back on it.
it
Okay.
is. I think they found their footing in the first season,
Yes.
and
Love the first season. Oh.
the, I mean, Steve Martin, Martin Short,
Yeah, I
Selena
adore
Gomez,
them. I mean,
brilliant.
ever
Oh,
since like Three Amigos and on we're I mean, oh my God.
yeah,
Yeah, that they're like magic. So,
yeah. The whole thing. I mean, it's
what
so
season are they
funny.
on now?
5.
Four? Five. Yeah, I think I'm still in four.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
mentioned LA, so that would track. So yeah, that's one of the things.
They are a delight.
I do goofy things like Forged in Fire,
Okay.
which is a
Okay.
show about forging. I've never forged a blade.
Yeah.
I don't, but whatever reason, this was like a pandemic thing that kind of stuck after the fact is
Yeah.
cooking shows
Okay.
and Forged in Fire. Like
Interesting. And do you cook though?
well, yeah, I
Yeah.
cook, but I
Yeah,
wouldn't
right?
say I wouldn't say I chef.
Right, right, right. You're like, I must feed myself and therefore I cook.
Exactly. We've got a few go-to
You're like, I
dishes
dabble,
that we
I
do.
dabble.
Yeah,
I can hold my own.
I'm starting to understand sweet, salty, acid, heat,
Ah, okay. Yes,
sort
yes.
of combos and
Good. Love
trying
it.
to trying to do a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, cooking shows are fun. Now, some of them are competitive cooking shows,
Yes,
and
yes.
one of the things that I love and Alone, which is a reality show about people being dropped off in the
Oh,
wilderness.
my cousin was super addicted to that, but I'm not as I mean I watched Bear Grylls back in the day, but like yeah, she was super addicted to that one.
Yeah, this it's unique in that the people when they're dropped off, they're alone and
Right.
they're filming
Hence the name.
themselves. There's no filming crew. You know, that's a
Yeah.
common thing where oh yeah, they're alone, but the filming crew. No,
Yeah, no,
no,
but they're like on their own, yeah.
really on their own. And they did one in South Africa recently, which was really tough. So the thing that's interesting, in addition to the natural beauty, is the decision making.
Yeah.
Like how they process this environment, their skills, the things that they're able to innovate and create in the cooking shows, same thing. Like you give them these whammy ingredients that do not go together, and they somehow create a delicious dish.
Mhm.
And in forging, like you're given this either difficult forging technique or you're given this wrinkle, and then there's decision making that you're going through. Pardon me. For me, that's like that. What I'm watching more is the decision making. Like I think it's just fascinating to see how these people are processing this situation and deciding to do X instead of Q. And you know, it's and now I think I understand bladesmithing and forging and which is just hilarious. Um,
Leave it to
but
Brett to string together an analysis of how forging, blades, cooking, and the Survivor show of Alone all have something in common. And this is like, I love it. So you could be alone, forging your own blade and cooking in the wilderness if you had to, I guess, at this point.
I've said this every time we watch Alone. I'm dead in 5 days.
Oh, I five. I'm like, I'm sorry. Where's the closest five-star hotel? Like, I don't do nature. I'm so allergic to nature. I would just
Where's the bathroom?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Oscar and I have been quote unquote hiking, and it's just, yeah, not not fun for me. Not it's not my thing. It's just not my thing. I've tried. I wanted it to be. I enjoy seeing nature. It's being in nature that's a problem.
Yeah, I'm more of like the first Madagascar when the giraffe is running through the jungle for the first time. And nature, it's all over me. Get it
Yes,
off me.
yes. This
Um,
is me. Oh my God. I that really resonates. But this is why they have shows where you can feel like you're a part of this and like, yeah, I can forge now and I'm,
yeah,
chefing and all of that. But yeah.
yeah, I don't take myself towards the delusion of thinking I can actually do these things.
I know.
But
But it is fun. But you kind of understand it. At least you can speak the language because it's like learning a new vocabulary when you watch these type of shows.
it is amazing how quickly you start to armchair quarterback because somebody will be forging a blade and it's like oh yeah they're look temperature's not right for that to start drawing that blade out and that's going to have some weaknesses in it and God how could they make that mistake um yeah it's amazing how quickly you're like yeah I get this.
Yeah. But see, you have the self-awareness to realize like you having that dialogue is like a little bit absurd because like were you actually on the spot doing it, your decision making would be completely different,
Well, I'd
obviously.
have caught myself on fire by now. Like I'd be, EMS would be trying to save me. It's but it's really these things are and actually there's a forge barefoot forge I think here in the area that does some forging classes. So
You should
that's
do it.
something that I'm gonna do because I
Oscar and
am
I have
just
talked about that whole like making your own blade. There's like those Japanese like or like a chef's blade because I like cooking and it's like this romantic idea we have that we're gonna go to this course and forge our own blade and blah blah blah. But I don't know if it'll ever really happen.
it's amazing. It really is. I
Yeah.
think that yeah, there's great potential there. So yeah, those are some things that are kind of like not at all related to what I do,
Hmm.
professionally that I enjoy. I think that having those diversions and just being able to kind of let go of the other stuff, I think that's important as well.
100%. Well, I will allow you to either get back to your chores or go enjoy one of your episodes of something enjoyable while snacking on something delicious and just, enjoying life. But congratulations on your new venture,
Thank you.
on this reinvention of Brett Jones. We'll title that podcast, the reinvention of Brett Jones. But
Oh boy.
it's always really a pleasure to talk to you and learn from you. And I appreciate your friendship and you just coming on and hanging out with me for an hour. I love that. Thank you so much.
Always grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
All right. Brett Jones, everybody.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to The Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Please subscribe and rate my podcast on your platform of choice and leave a review. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram or Facebook.